Thank you, Dr. Christian, and to the SUNY New Paltz Board of Trustees. This is a great honor. I also want to say it is a special honor to be participating in the final commencement weekend over which President Christian will take part. As a member of the New Paltz Foundation Board, I feel like I have had a ringside seat to his leadership, and it is always principled, and it is always empathetic, and it is always effective, and it's been such a pleasure to work close to you, Dr. Christian. It is also a great honor to be addressing this graduating class because you have overcome so much to get here. And also your parents who in some cases paid to send you away only to have you come right back and spend even more time staring at a screen. It's a proud day for the students, but it's an equally proud day for the parents. Congratulations to you all. You know, it was not that long ago that I sat exactly where you are sitting in front of the old main. At least in my mind, it wasn't that long ago. And we are only a few hundred yards from the lecture center where at a general interest meeting for the campus radio station, I met Gina O'Brien, who would become my wife. I knew, that's right, that's an applause line, thank you. I knew right from that first meeting what a significant meeting it was. It took Gina a bit longer to realize the significance of that. But it all worked out in the end, and it's another happy ending New Paltz story. I wanted to share some thoughts with the graduates on what might lie ahead, but first, briefly, I thought I would share with you my own career path. My senior year here at New Paltz, the Career Center helped me line up a full-time internship at IBM at their East Fishkill site in the communications group. It was a paid position at the rate of $20,000 a year. Now, this is the mid-'80s, when a pitcher of beer could be had on Main Street for $1, so you can only imagine what that currency was worth. I went to Marshall's department store, I got a couple of suits, and I went to work writing press releases. They asked me to stay on for the summer after graduation. However, IBM was beginning to get their clock cleaned by new personal computing companies named Apple and Dell. So there was no permanent space for me. I went from one of the largest companies in the world to a very tiny one, a Manhattan PR firm owned by two partners. It paid $16,000 a year. One of the partners was age 78. The other was old. I can't tell you exactly how old, but I can tell you he died while I was working there, and I never realized it. After a year in the city, I returned to the Hudson Valley as a reporter for WPDH and its sister news station. It paid $13,000 a year. At this point, my dad pulled me aside and said, "Edward, you do realize how this is supposed to work, don't you? You seem to be climbing down the ladder of success." He also said, though, look, now is the time you can afford to be poor and figure out what it is that you really want to do. So after a year of Poughkeepsie radio, I answered an ad for a young cable network back downstate. It paid $20,000 a year. Yeah. And 3 years later, I said, I'm back where I started, baby. Now, Bravo Network was a struggling arts channel at the time. Over the next few years, I moved from PR to marketing to programming, and we put some original shows on the network, like Inside the Actor's Studio and Queer Eye for the Straight Guy. Yep. I moved over to AMC Network to develop original dramas. We did one called Mad Men about a troubled ad executive in the 60s. We did one called Breaking Bad about a troubled chemistry teacher. You know, right from the first pitch, the concept of Breaking Bad was Walter Mitty becomes Michael Corleone. Now, I realize some of you will need to go to Google to check the Walter Mitty reference. I fully expected while I was talking, many of you would be staring at your phone. I'm not proud. You can go ahead and do it. But we always wanted to show for every decision Walter White made, it would be a bad decision and he would get deeper and deeper in. And then we always wanted to show all the bad consequences of those bad decisions. And I will just say, if you are now or about to watch the final season of Better Call Saul, buckle up, it's going to be a very, very bumpy landing. So we did another upbeat show at AMC about an apocalyptic world ruled by zombies. That was called The Walking Dead, and the idea was to make it feel every week in your home like a scary drive-in movie. So from that journey, hopefully I've learned a few things worth sharing. This graduating class has demonstrated incredible resiliency to get to this day. Really and truly, you have had a college experience unlike any other class before you. And that has caused you to develop qualities you might not even be aware of: flexibility, resourcefulness, maturity, empathy. And as you go out into the so-called real world, those qualities are needed now more than ever. Here at New Paltz, you have met all kinds of people with different backgrounds and different points of view. And very likely you have learned to exchange different viewpoints in a way that maintains mutual respect. And that is the way to find common ground and move forward. I don't know when the word compromise became a dirty word among our leaders, but I do know that in the world of business and on college campuses and in personal relationships, compromise is the way to move forward and make progress. It turns out democracy is more fragile than many of us believed, and we can plainly see today in the world the high price of autocracy. When one looks at the history of nations, we see trouble brewing when both parties move to the extremes. And then folks in the middle are told they must choose a side. When winning becomes more important than the integrity of the institution, it's been a bad recipe throughout history, because most empires crumble from within. And the key to keeping democracy alive and healthy is to stay informed, to talk to one another, and to listen respectfully. No one has ever changed their mind about anything by being called an idiot. Likewise, when you are in the workplace, you will come across some folks that you just find disagreeable. For whatever reason, they're not your cup of tea. And my advice to you would be to try and find something that you like about them, and hold that thing in your head when you interact with them. And know that you are doing this not for them, you are doing this for you. Finally, just a few hopefully practical thoughts about the job marketplace. But first, when you reunite with your classmates and someone brings up this commencement talk, which, let's face it, they probably never will, they might say, I don't know, I think the speaker had something to do with zombies. And I heard he and his wife Gina were building a bar in town at the old Murphy's site. Yeah. Listen, I miss Murphy's too, but you'll come back, you'll have a drink, you'll like it. So now I have given you a hook by which to remember me: zombies in a bar. And when you go to an interview or an audition or just a networking cup of coffee, always know in advance what your hook will be. What will set you apart from all the other candidates? Believe me when I tell you, most interviewers have only a vague idea of what to ask. Do not, please, simply answer their questions and leave. Make a plan with yourself and say, when I leave this room, I will be sure that they remember this about me. That's your hook. Now, when you get that job, and you will get that job, you might have to be a little patient, but you will, please keep in mind the following. The company is unlikely to figure out how to make your job more interesting, more important, or more gratifying. You have to do that for yourself. Make it a point to have lunch with people in other departments and ask them about their jobs. It's amazing what people will tell you if you ask them. Also, ask them about themselves, because they will just like you better. Oh, and get to work early. The leaders at every place I have ever worked have been the people who were showing up early years before. It's just a thing. I know you don't want to hear it. But if you are having a cup of coffee with coworkers at 8 a.m., you are viewed as industrious. If you're having a cup of coffee with coworkers at 9 a.m., you're viewed as someone who doesn't really get down to work until 9:30. And finally, as I tried to illustrate, don't be afraid to jump around in your early career days. You simply spend too much of your life at work not to find something that truly energizes you. So, as you go forward, keep that resiliency, keep your sense of humor, develop your hook, and find ways to work with people. Listen, compromise, make the world a slightly better place. I know you will. Thank you and congratulations.